Everyone. Today's session is 77th session of Happy Book Reading, and today we have Rahul presenting a book on testing. And so I'll take a break and I'll participate. So Rahul, all yours. I'm not sure why am I presenting. Yeah, you go ahead and
Thank
present.
you. Thank you. And good morning, everyone. And thank you for giving me this chance to present my own book that I recently wrote on bug advocacy. Some of you would have already read this book, some of you would have glimpsed through this book. Uh, for me, as a writer, I have contributed to 8 to 9 books, and this is one of the most important testing topic on which I have ever wrote, and which has influenced and transformed the way I do testing and how people perceive me as a tester, my credibility as a tester. Uh, so this is a book on bug advocacy. I and Khushbu Rajpurohit, we both wrote this together, and it was based on a course which is available on testingeducation.org, a bug advocacy course by Cem Kaner and James Bach. So let's go ahead. This book is dedicated to all passionate learners. It's in the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike license, and we are certainly not the first people to have talked about the bug advocacy topic. Uh, there have been a lot of good work that has been done in the testing community in the field of bug advocacy, from lessons learned in software testing. Then there is one course on bug reporting by Pradeep and Santosh, and then this course on testing education. So that's a highlight of what has already been done. This is the foreword by James Bach, where he shared his disagreements with certain thoughts and vision how Chem had for testers, where Chem saw testers' role in improving the product, which James doesn't believe it to be. James believes improving the product is a sole responsibility of developer, and they improve, they create, they fix bugs. But James agreed that effective bug reporting, advocating for bug is one great way to convey meaningful and compelling information, and you need this skill uh, in your arsenal to be a very effective tester. So that's it. And James completes it forward with very important line that don't allow any automation or any kind of new fancy technique to distract you from this basic truth. You have to convey meaningful information at the end of the day. As testers, meaningful information is what matters, and knowing how to convey meaningful information in a meaningful way is very important as a tester. So this book is basically a summary ebook. You will have mind maps, then you will have some textual commentary summary on the chapters or on the lectures. The mind maps should be read in a 12 o'clock, like a clock, basically starting from 12 to going till 11. Go clockwise, and there are colors, there are icons. Some places there are images which I've used to add extra meaning to things. So that's about how this book will flow, and it talks about. There are 8 chapters in which we have divided this book. 6 of them are directly related with the lectures of this course, and then we added 2 more, the cheat sheet and our own conclusion. There is a lot of interpretation that has gone in. We have added our personal examples, understanding from testing, whatever we have done, whatever we have practiced, that we have put here. So first is the basic concepts. uh, what do you need to know? Most of us are familiar with basic concepts. I'll go through that very quickly. Next is effective advocacy, which talks about how to make people want to fix bugs rather than uh, you forcing them and creating a different situation. How to deal with the objection, this bug is irreproducible or this is not clear, uh, or I don't understand it, this doesn't make sense, or this is of low priority. How to deal with such kind of objections, how to anticipate them in first, and then how to deal with them, and then how to use reports to build your credibility and influence in your project. How to write clear bug reports, and then in the end there is a cheat sheet which is kind of a very quick summary of this entire summary book, and then a short conclusion. So let's talk about basic concepts of bug advocacy. Uh, I'll try to zoom in, and hopefully this is readable. Is this readable to all? Okay. So starts with what is a bug. This book will revolve around bugs and other items. So what is a bug? So bug is basically anything in the product that threatens its value. Definition by James Bach and Michael Bolton.
So,
Uh,
Rahul, sorry to interrupt. Uh, I see that we will not complete this book within the time if we go through every node. So, my
mhm,
suggestion is take the main nodes,
mhm.
as I don't see anyone less than 2 3 years of testing here, right? Experience. Take
I just wanted to talk about 2 to 3 points fault failure minor, and then I'll just quickly go to the next.
Yeah, so maybe like max 6 sentences per mind map, because I know there are like at least 20 30 mind maps, right? So
Mhm.
the more important stuff is at the end. So we want to
Yes,
spend more time there. Yeah.
sure. Yep. Okay, so quick things first. There are a lot of terms which are used for bugs: fault, failure, error, critical conditions, defect, symptom. There are differences in them. Defect means defect is another popular term that's confused with bug, but defect is a bug which can have a legal implication. It's typically a term that's used in lawsuit, and Cem Kaner came from a law background, and it's somewhere used there. Uh, Bug reports, primary work product. It helps the two programmer to identify where to spend their time and energy. The fundamental challenge of bug report is, should we make them more clear, or should we invest time in finding new bugs? So investigate deep versus investigate wide. So that's always a conflict of interest, and how to solve that, where to spend time, that's a challenge, and how to preserve our credibility and integrity. It's a very typical bug workflow. Somebody finds a bug, they report it, somebody confirms it. If it if the programmer feels it's not uh, something that is a bug, then there is a project manager or a BA or a triage team that's involved, and finally tester checks it. So pretty simple. What is bug advocacy? We understood about bug. What is bug advocacy? So best testers ain't the one who find most bugs, but the one who gets the most bugs fixed. So it doesn't matter how many bug you raise, but what matters is the success criteria, how much bugs you are able to convert into bug fixes. Otherwise, there are systems, there are open databases of bugs where you will find thousands of bugs available. You look into the open databases of Microsoft products and all. I mean, there are thousands of bugs that are open, and nobody is going to fix them. They don't add any value. So uh, try to get more fixed. And why understanding the notions of quality is important? Because different people see quality in a different way. For a tester, I see certain aspects of quality. But if, for example, my product is also used by my marketing team, they may have certain kind of different troubles. And if that product is a tech product, maybe the developers are going to purchase it, they may face a different problem. So for different people, there are different notion of qualities and different problems, different quality criterias, and it's very important to see things from those angles. So that's the idea of quality and how quality can impact bug in different ways. So what might be quality for you might not be value for somebody else. So sole purpose of testing is information gathering, presenting it in a meaningful way, uh, and we highlight risk, and always there is going to be some uncertainty, but we need to help people make well informed decisions, which means you have to consider certain kind of trade offs, that communicating what you have already found versus you want to look for more problem. There is always a trade off. It's like a tug of war, where to spend more time and energy on, and there are always conflict of interest among decision maker or stakeholder. Some would want to ship it this Friday, but for a specific kind of user, what you ship might be damaging or harmful, or maybe it damages the reputation of the customer or of us. So you have to look into that. And the biggest challenge is you have to always present, as testers, it's very hard to present information because uh, most of the time projects are running under stress, and whenever you are going to give some information, I mean, you have to give it in a way that they receive it, they understand it. Otherwise the emotion, there is always a emotional baggage which blocks that information. And at the same time you have to preserve your credibility. You don't have to shout for every small thing, otherwise people will say or stereotype as you are just shouting, it doesn't make sense, it's just noise, garbage. And you also have to preserve your integrity, you don't have to make false claims. So these are typical challenges that testers face. And then we talk about some report definitions of bug, which we all know, so I'll quickly go ahead. uh, and bug advocacy is very much similar. If you want to see, it's very much similar to doing sales, where you motivate somebody to spend their time and energy. uh, this is a very short view of how sales it is, how sales works. You do something, you motivate people to spend time and energy, and that's what you do in bug advocacy. So the primary concepts of seeing bug reporting or selling as a persuasive art, that stays the same here also. It's a very persuasive activity. And to persuade people to put their time and energy, you have to link the problems and the objective or the concern of the stakeholder, that if this is a problem, how this is a problem, and for whom it is a problem, and what risk it can create in the future. If you can create such links, it will help you be a better bug advocate. This is bug workflow, which we talked about, and it explains it in detail, what happens, what doesn't. And if, I mean, even the decision of what type of test I want to run, that's also not straightforward, because initially you want to test everything, but I mean, then the time runs out, and then there is pressure to raise bugs, and also these decisions are typically very strange. Next lecture 2 is on effective advocacy. So basically what bug advocacy is, we talked about, it's like selling of bugs. uh, Time is short, people are overcommitted, we always want to deliver more. So we have to advocate for them, we have to make them do it, uh, which involves presenting bugs in a strongest but honest light. We don't have to lie about things. Some people misinterpret bug advocacy as like overselling of things or something. It's not overselling or telling something wrong. It's just presenting it in its strongest light, connecting with the concerns and enabling good decision making. And how you can start with your bug advocacy: first thing, add information beyond test results. uh, what kind of information apart from your test you can add? First is customer or competitor comparison. how are other people in this domain doing it. Next is predicted criticism. For example, if we don't address accessibility issues, this can happen, and this has happened with these many cities, these many companies. There is a website for Risks Digest. I'll share the link in the end. The Risk Digest, which talks about risks and how it affects companies. Next is usability weakness. If it's too hard to use, maybe the person might not be even going to try this new feature, or some kind of a lost value or support cost that are going to come into the picture, or expert opinion. What do the experts feel about it? So minimize. Okay. So basically selling happens in two these steps. First is either you motivate the buyer, whoever comes or whoever is the buyer. So the primary buyer is the programmer. You motivate them, you make them want to fix it, and they would really want to fix the bug if it is really bad, or if it affects a lot of people, or if it is very trivially easy to get. I mean, in 1 or 2 clicks it breaches the contract, it embarrasses the company, or somebody from the management wants it fixed. So if you can find such points, even if you can mention it in the report, if you can justify it, it can work. I'll just stop after this map, and we'll talk about questions, Gaurav. Next is overcoming objections. So first is you motivate the buyer, but for example, you're not able to motivate the buyer enough. Maybe they have reasons of not fixing it. So how to overcome such objections? So you have to go past the reasons why they are rejecting, or they are like giving excuses for not fixing the bugs. So you have to do, in that case, you have to do some follow-up work. For example, mostly they have a point that it's not that serious, or it's not general. So you have to do some follow-up work to prove that in this specific condition it can become so serious, or it is so generic, it can happen in these many states also, or it can happen for these many set of devices, or whatever your context is. And how to do follow-up? You vary the data, you vary behavior, you change settings, you change sometimes the software or hardware configuration. You change from Linux to Windows, ARM64, x86, so on and so on. You keep on testing, you conserve the steps, look for configuration dependence, and always remember, I mean, a lot of times people will say it's just a corner case, but if you don't investigate well, then corner cases might just be a tip of the iceberg. I mean, you can never be sure what corner cases actually are. Yep. Okay. So we'll take some questions. Yes. Is there something in the chat? No. Hello, Gaurav.
Yeah, Rahul, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
So how do we try this?
So when we say that there are so many bugs that are kept open, so shall we think all this and then raise the bug, like, or we should raise it if we feel it's a problem? Because if you think that, okay, that because from your perspective that might not be that important, but at times from customer perspective it can be a problem. And all right, and the bugs that are already, like you said, that there are thousands of bugs that are open but people are not fixing it. So they are not fixing it because of bug advocacy was not accurate, or maybe there could be business decision that though everything was fine, but still people don't want to fix it.
Okay. You asked 2 to 3 questions. I'll try to address each of them quickly. First is, should we not raise a bug? It depends on the bug. First thing, we have to raise it definitely. Sometimes clubbing multiple things under one is a good idea. Sometimes raising all under same is a good idea. How time affects that, we'll see in a later chapter. I'll point the exact section where I'll be talking about that how in the early stages of the project, what kind of bugs you should look more. In the ending stage, what kind of bugs are good to raise. Second is, your second question was, that there are multiple bugs open, and then was there an advocacy problem? For example, if it's a management low priority issue, that's a different case. Or maybe somebody says it's not even a bug, that's a different case. In that case, it will not land in the open area. But it's a priority issue, but people are not fixing it because maybe the reports are poor. That's one of the reason why they are not able to translate their value. Otherwise, everybody would want to put efforts into something that can help increase value.
Correct. So it's like you try your thing, showing that importance and everything, but it's not that it's that you take it to the fix, right? As we said in the starting, that you want the things to be fixed, then you are good, right? You have showed all the value, all the problems that it can create, but still, if it is not getting fixed because of some reason, it's fine, right? You end with the with all
At
the
the
points falling in the bug advocacy part, right?
Yes, so bug advocacy is something which can help the probability of it getting fixed. But for some reason, if it's not getting fixed, or maybe our judgment is wrong, and I mean the judgment of the stakeholders or the product manager is different, you have to abide by the principle of acceptance. I mean, no matter how well you try, in some cases there are going to be failures.
Okay, and one last thing is, and for the definition of error, it was written that something wrong with the product, right?
Mhm.
Is it right? Because all those categories, something is wrong with the product, right? In all those categories. For error, is it the right definition?
For example, your internet is off, so it's not your app problem, right? It's there is some error that has happened, but it's not necessarily always because of your application. There may be error because of some third party or something. So it will become a bug there, but not for us. It's an error. I mean we just maybe need to refresh.
I have something to say. Gaurav, what I personally do is, in any case, I log a defect. Though I can make it would be like observation of my understanding at that particular time. I can always go back and refer it up and do anything. So I don't want to lose that thought process or observation. So, but in a comment description, I'll make it as this is the thing at this time. I might come back or something like that. So it is not like I'll raise high priority defect, then whole the management team will start pinging me. So I don't want to do that. I'll just, as a tester, simple observation. Later, I can go back and do investigation.
Raising a bug is always good, and what as an additional step, what I also put is I also put tester notes, what I want to investigate more and what I am planning to update more here. And if a developer knows about it, please update it here. And
Wow.
sometimes I even self-assign bug to me. I mean, if it's totally irreproducible or tricky. So
Wow, that notes makes sense. Next time
yeah,
I'll also start
yeah.
that.
So I add notes that what I want to try more, and sometimes I even add notes for retesting comments because it bugs are fixed, for example, after 2 months and I don't remember. So I just brain dump everything there. Okay, so let's go ahead. Uh, so testers' credibility should ideally not be the bug fix metrics, but it is more important to assess and get the right bugs fixed. So first you have to assess what are the right bugs, what are hampering the value the most, and then to get them fixed. That's very important. And the quality of information that we will provide, it will affect the decisions. I mean, mostly it will be directly, sometimes it will be indirectly. I mean, if you provide high quality information, your credibility will be high, and maybe tomorrow when you go and say something, I mean, your say would have a effect on the decision making. So uh, that's one thing. And then uh, your buyer are typically the bug fixer, the business analyst, the project manager, or the triage team, who have to decide that do they want to spend more time on it, and more time means more money. So do they really want to purchase it, or they want to go ahead? Maybe something is very good but they don't want to purchase it right now, and we have our own reasons of not purchasing things. So you have to get past those reasons, and no matter what, I mean, you always should respect and treat the programmer respectfully, by not wasting a lot of their time, not giving them, not making them come back to you for trivial information. What is the test data file, what is the environment? You have to mention all these things, and you have to share information with them so that it saves their time. Build a good rapport with them, and sometimes that also helps in this advocacy part. A lot of times I've asked developers that, have you ever seen this? I mean, I saw this but I'm not able to reproduce, and they said, yeah, we have seen this and this is how you have to reproduce. So developer friendly relations also help in this context. And Next is I mean, priority and severity. What is priority, which is very important to be fixed right now. Severity, I mean, high priority means what is very important. High severity is what can put in a severe kind of a loss or condition. For example, there is a bug that our website can crash on 29th of Feb, but we are releasing it on 1st of April. So this, despite it's a very high severity issue because it can crash the entire website, but it's low priority because we are going to again make few releases in the upcoming months and we can fix it. So I mean, priority is mostly decided by the business, and severity, we put our thought on how this problem can impact the product or application. So that's important. And whenever you raise a bug, while reporting, you have to ask yourself, what are the steps, operations, what I do. Recording your steps is always a good idea. What are the conditions? What are other critical conditions? For example, it happens only in this kind of system or only when I use this kind of hardware. Coming from, I mean, IoT domain, I have come across issues which come only in a specific variant on a very specific kind of a Linux system on a very specific kind of a communication protocol. So are there other critical conditions? That's a question to ask. How often does it occur? Some issues occur every time you do it. Some issues occur very intermediately when the load is high, or what are things. Can I alter something else? Can I change the input? What type of input is there? What kind of limits am I touching? Is it repeatable? Can I change the environment in which I'm running? Can I change any sort of application settings? Does the bug exist in all the version? Previous version also was this bug there and we just found it out right now. And am I missing any area of the software to check? So these are questions that you should ask. Heuristics, oracles, we talked about it during the testing foundations. I'll not go much into the detail, but heuristic is a fallible way to solve a problem. Testing uses heuristics in a lot of way. Oracle is a way to identify a problem. You always need an oracle with which you can compare, and then you know there is a mismatch. Maybe that's a bug, that's an issue, and all. We'll talk about oracles also in the later part. And bug report will directly affect your credibility. If you are writing bugs which are not reproducible or which force the people to ask you that what is this file and all, or what are the steps, then I mean, people will think that you are not putting all information, you are wasting their time, and that internally damages your credibility as a tester. The next is anticipating and dealing with objection, irreproducible bugs. So first thing is, programmers will resist to fix if they can't replicate it or they don't understand it. It requires too much analysis. It's totally unrealistic. I mean, I am purchasing 10,000 or 1 lakh pens or something, and I mean, you are creating such scenario. Maybe it looks totally unrealistic, or maybe it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's actually a feature, or it will introduce new big risks that if you fix this, there are other problems that can happen. So if you find a non-reproducible failure, it's always good to mark the issue as non-reproducible, that this issue is not going to be reproduced in this kind of steps, and then mark what was the error message you got, what was the specific code that you got, what was the screen changes that you were doing, or method changes or call changes that you were doing, any other message, relevant factors, whatever you feel. Add your test notes, whatever you feel, you can put that, and that will help. Why bugs are non-reproducible? So essentially what happens is that whenever you are running any application, there are, apart from this application on which you give the input, intended inputs, there are other things also, like the state of the OS, the libraries. There are other if you open the task manager, there are a lot of processes that are going on in your machine at any point of time, and they have a specific state, they have a specific configuration and all, and there are other operating processes also. So whenever you execute a test, what you monitor is intended input and intended output, monitored output. even there might be some output which you are not monitoring, so you don't see what changed and what change is making this bug come. uh, and it's always a good idea, if you are not able to note a difference or a reproducible condition between this intended input and monitored output, maybe some other program state or any kind of a system state might be affecting the bug. So look at the other four also. Don't restrict yourself here. Tools to capture more information, I mean rapid reporter, light shot, support details, uh, WinR, DXDIAG. It's helpful for the people who test desktop apps, LiceCap. So use these tools to grab more information. And important part is write everything down about the system. Put your test notes down. What was the state? What were you doing? And look for other irreproducible bugs also. I mean, if you start adding a label irreproducible, you can quickly filter on that, and you can see if there have been such issues in the past also. Talk to the programmer, always a good advice. Talk to them, ask them what's the can this be an issue, and preserve the test machine state. Vary the timing, try to see if it's a timing issue, because sometimes some issue comes only when you're doing it through automation. There are things that are happening too quickly, and maybe some states are not going through manually or not able to reproduce. Check if it's a timing problem. And even if you have to close it because you are not able to reproduce it, assign it certain kind of a label, for example non-reproducible or non-reproducible closed. And later on, if you see one more time, you can go there, add a comment. I observed this right now, and maybe more test notes. So this is how you structurally investigate more. So that's about lesson 3. That's irreproducible bugs. Ask the programmer is a good advice, and take notes. Then next is content clarity and credibility of the report. So first is advocacy for unrealistic failures. So for example, you did something on a very high kind of a number or unrealistic data set. You found an issue, and the developer or somebody said, or even you said that maybe it's not a case. I mean, it's an extreme case. I should not report it. So before you dismiss it, just do a other casual analysis. Maybe try reducing the sample set. Test for that. For example, now if there is an old bug that's there in the system, that's troubling you, and there has always been a decision that has already been done that we don't want to fix it. So in that case, check with the support team that is it really that nobody cares about it? Nobody really has reported this issue in the last 1 year, 2 years, last 6 months. Ask developer, how do they know that this is not impacting? Are they really in touch with the customers? How do they know? How are they making this judgment? And there might be people with whom you can directly ask that do you have some data on the last logs bug? That marketing team is a good if you have access to the marketing team, it's a good point of contact for such information, or the support team. I take such information from my support team, and that has helped me to advocate for bugs in a very well manner. It adds a lot of credibility. If some issue has come in the support, the team wants to really fix it. Network admins, power users, sales people, they will help you with a lot of information what the customers really face. So that's about this. Oracle can help you look for problem, and I mean advocate for them also. For example, consistency Oracle, you check for the consistency with the claim. For example, your organization has certain claim for the product, you check against that, and if that is failing, everybody would want to fix it. Or with the history. So basically, consistency with history means regression. You do regression testing that this used to work in last build, now it's not working. Everybody wants to fix it with the purpose. It's not fulfilling the purpose, or with the image that your product has carried so far. So check the consistency with that, consistency within the product, that for these two features we are doing it in this way, but why there is a difference, and we want to keep it consistent. Or consistency with the user expectation, or with other comparable products, and then with the standards or regulation. So if your product is under some kind of a standard or regulation, For example, accessibility guidelines needs to be there, or for example, some kind of safety measures for this IoT system have to be taken. So take all those into consideration. Uh, and consistency oracle is something which requires research. I mean, there is one fundamental difference between junior tester and senior tester. Junior tester will say we have not got information on this, that's why we are not raising it, we have just got a requirement, they will only stick to it. Experience and competitor tester, they do their own research, they ask for information, they create their own database of information understanding, they don't restrict themselves to requirements only. So it requires research, and you have to start researching about your company as well as your industry, competitors, the regulations that are affecting it, and it requires a lot of work, like how an advocate does it. And if somebody says it's not a bug, it's a feature, use oracle to build a case that why you think it's a bug, and if you can use multiple oracles, that will help you make a better case, and tie that to the risk to a customer, that how this feature can also be damaging, and now this feature is also again a bug. So talk on those lines. And how to have a big impact, uh, use right wording. I have started using Grammarly because English is not my native language. I use WordTune to refine my sentences, and give information beyond the steps to reproduce boundaries also. So that's one thing. uh, and next is the credibility and influence. uh, so there are two things which are actually which affect uh, the factor of getting a reported bug fixed. First is the technical quality of report, how much follow-up testing has been done. Mostly for one bug, if you do some more follow-up, you find three more other issues, and it's always good to give the entire problem in once rather than give just a specific part of problem, and then the developer fixes that, and then you retest, and then you give two more problems which were already there in the initial piece of code also. So do follow-up testing, do impact analysis, what impact it can have, and write it very clearly, and the influence and credibility that you build as a reporter. uh, and that is going to help you a lot. I mean, for some people who report bugs, I mean, it's very easy to get them fixed because they have built a very high influence and credibility in their team, that this person talks sense, he comes with data, or she comes with data. So I mean, this credibility will help you. What are the factors that affect your credibility? First is your choices that you make in your day-to-day work. You want to report every bug, you want to report only minor bugs, you want to report only major bugs. Do you really want to fully analyze bug, or you want to just throw some error condition that this just happened, this error message just came, or you want to lightly analyze bug, or insist every bug gets fixed? Because if you are going to even insist that fix all of my bugs, then also your credibility is going to go down. So know the battles. Critical lesson is, if you are going to fight, win. So you should know that what lesson you want to fight. And programmer, I mean, these are typical questions for tester, programmer, project manager. I mean, that they ask, that should I report this bug as a tester, or raise all similar as one or as different? How much time should I spend on analysis? Should I appeal the deferral of bug? So these are day-to-day questions that testers go through. Programmers think, should I fix this bug or defer it? Project manager think, uh, do we know if there are risks? Can I trust the programmer if he's saying that this is not a problem? Similarly, test lead again has their own set of judgment, that for example, tester has raised it but somebody has deferred it. Should I make an issue? Should I raise it to senior management? Should it go up? Then customer service team, marketing team again have their own set of question, directors, VP. So based on different roles in the project, everybody has their different kind of way of handling bugs, judgment, and decision. And one thing is very important to understand, that judgments are always made under time pressure, with certain kind of incomplete information. We never know how the customer is going to react, how things are actually going to impact. We are all anticipating, and some decisions will definitely go wrong in this anticipation. And mostly these decisions which are made under uncertainty, they are highly influenced by the available information. So available information is the information you put in your reports. The decision makers bias on you, bias on testing, bias on testers, and the decision makers heuristic, whatever model or algorithm they are using to make the decision. And it's I mean, three things. First is preferred result, what they want. If you can show them perceived probability, how likely is this issue going to happen, that's a upvote for getting it fixed or getting the decision in a positive. And expected consequence. So these are the credibility and influence part. uh, how to improve quality of report, you have to give people sufficient time to do good work. Like Ajay says, in the testing lab, I mean, you can't have a biryani in 2 minutes, you can have a Maggie. So this is a quote that I have quoted in my office work also sometimes, that if you really want good work, I mean, I will have to spend some good time on it. I mean, not everything can be rushed. Praise the testers for reporting anomalies, well written bug reports, genuine bugs, even if they are deferred. I mean, if they make certain catch, I mean, you have to praise them. It doesn't matter, I mean, if your team wins or loses, but if somebody has done good performance, praise them, so that next time also they would want to raise such bugs. Otherwise, I have been into projects where people have gone into mode that we don't want to raise this bug because they will anyhow reject it, and then that becomes a problem. I mean, and that happens if I mean, you convince the tester that this work is pointless or it is going to be ignored, and or you are not team player, you are making, or they are being attacked personally, that why are you raising bugs at the last hour and all. So if you create such situations in your team, I mean, people are not going to report the bugs. uh, and early in the schedule, report all type of bug. It's, I mean, look for the widest possibility, and I mean, UI minor to minor bugs you should raise. But in the late, if you are in the late schedule, I mean, you have tested for example 3 months and you are in the last week of release, then be selective about challenging the design. I mean, don't raise design issues at the end or low visibility minor problems. And also do an informal reporting process. I mean, in the stand-up meetings, what you are finding, what you are saying. And sometimes, I mean, you will get clues from other people that don't look at this, or I mean, we know about this, or we have planned this in the next release. So open the doors for mention in passing. uh, Bias risky conduct, I mean, some things can get very risky. Don't use bug statistics for promotions, or to embarrass people to create don't, I mean, don't refuse people to create bugs for identified issues. Don't stop them. I mean, even if they have found a issue, they want to report it, let them report it. Let them put their things, and don't change the reporter's language. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, even if you are a lead, if somebody has raised it with certain language, I mean, show respect for their word, add your comments, add additional notes, whatever you feel, but don't delete the sentences what somebody else has written. That can get very negative. In the end, it's all people's problem. Monitor language in the reports that are critical to dev or tester. So safe language, use that. uh, so next, and the last is writing clear bug reports. I'll quickly go to this framework uh, of what a clear bug report should look like. So it should have certain parameters, certain things. Whenever you are evaluating a bug, use a mnemonic RIMGIA given by Dr. Cem Kaner, where R stands for replicate it. Are you able to replicate the bug? Which means, is it reproducible? Look at those lines. Second is I, isolate it. Remove all the unnecessary steps out of it. Just the basic vanilla version of the bug. If you are able to find it, report it. That's good. M, maximize it. Do some follow-up work, change data, sequence, settings, behavior, to see if it can trigger something worse. Do some follow-up work, so that's maximize it. G is generalize it, which means try to see on what all situations also this issue can happen. E is externalize it, which is see it from the point of view of the external stakeholder, uh, whoever is there and is going to use your product. So externalize it. And A stands for and say it clearly and dispassionately. Uh, it should not look like an aggressive report or a personal attack. Say it clearly, write it neutral in nature. If you have read any kind of law documents, those are very neutral in nature. The intention is to bring in honest light, not to accuse people, not to make judgments before the actual judgment. So that helps. And I mean, it's always good to include certain fields. I have created some kind of a template where I use that template which gets pre-filled, and then I just add data to that. So add a problem summary, one liner short. You can use a heuristic that's failure when, and then the condition, what is when that failure is triggered. Release number, product component name, version, build identifier, hardware software configuration, very important if you are doing involved in hardware testing. Or I mean, what specific software are you testing on? Versions, libraries, the version of libraries. Report type, what is this issue? It's a doc issue, it's a change request, it's a design issue, it's a coding error. Is the bug reproducible? What is the severity, priority, description, steps, suggested fix? uh, Most people write it as expected. I write it as suggested fix. When I write expected, it looks like this is the expectation, how it has to be done. I also don't know the exact expectation. I know one of the way how it can be fixed, so I just put it as a suggested fix. Customer impact, very important, how you can map the problem to the impact. This is the place where you should mention that status. Most project tracking systems have that. Comments and anticipated loss, or basically risk or any kind of note. So these are the important points. In the end, these are some cheat sheet. I mean, if you don't have, somebody doesn't have time but they just want to refresh these concepts, they can refer to this. Most of these I've covered, almost all I have covered in the book. The conclusion is, I mean, the once you have read this book, what's next? I mean, what to do more? You have to actually practice it out. I have practiced bug reporting, bug advocacy in hackathons, uh, and it took me 7 to 8 hackathons or testathons to put this thing in practice. I practice it even today, day to day, and I always learn something new. And for each product, I mean, it grows better. You know the things better. Uh, so practice your skills. That's very important. I mean, learning is cheap, practice is expensive. Do that expensive part. uh, there are other books, testing foundations, which has a links, I mean, which is kind of a predecessor to this book. So knowing that foundational knowledge is going to help you. Knowing about all possible oracles, heuristic, how to test, that is going to help you here. We took all images from Unsplash, and we made this entire book through pitch. So that's all reviewed by I think 3 members from this group only: Mahati, Ajay, Ankita, and then I had some colleagues, and this is about author. So that's all. I think we wrapped up pretty much well in time. Uh, Open for questions, discussions, thoughts. Uh,
This book will be in part of history while learning software testing. Thank you. As in, what I meant by history, as in it's an achievement. Like we have epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata kind of stuff for for our testing. So you have thought through 360-degree. So I find it as like full meal. You have all the carbohydrates, protein, nutrients, everything there. What I want to know about the product. So it's good. I'm so happy.
Thanks for the praise. And I highly recommend to read even the commentary that we have written, because a lot of places, I mean, even we had certain kind of mismatching thoughts from what Kem said. Some places Kem didn't touch, because this course is 20 years old. So in modern context, how things apply, we have tried to put that. So that's about it. Yeah.
It's a great effort.
Great book round, great efforts. That's all. And I have two questions. So first is that should a tester assign priority to a bug?
No.
Is it the job of a tester to assign priority?
No.
And the second thing was about putting the expected and actual result.
Mm-hmm.
So for every bug reported, should we also put, anyway we are putting the actual result. What about the expected result?
So as I said, I never put expected results. In some cases, even the expected is not even required. For example, there is an error message that's coming that should just not come. It should just flow through the next screen. So in simple cases, you should not give any expected result or suggested fix even. I mean, everybody knows when it's clear, don't give it. When you think it's a critical thing I found out, and you want to help the programmer sail through quickly, you have done enough investigation, then you can give suggested fix, one or two even.
Okay. And like, if there is a difference between expected result and suggested fix, right? Expected result is if the program is not behaving
If
the
you
way you
really
want.
know the expectation, you
Yeah.
can put it the expected result. If you just have one view of your personal expectation, then I think that's a suggestion that you are making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing is the template that you talked, right? You have the template for the
Mm-hmm.
templates. Can you show
I can show you that. Yeah.
one example?
Uh, just a moment. Can you see this? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Did you see?
Okay.
So I use shortcuts, text expanders. There is a text expander that I have assigned for bugs. I press that Alt B and it auto populates the entire thing for me, whatever I want to mention.
Great. Text expander, right?
Get Magical is one nice tool for browser. Auto Hotkey another nice tool. It helps you not forget things. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
Google, Mahati, Ankita, any thoughts? Mahesh.
First thing, Rahul, this is, I mean, great to see that you are having reading this book in HBR session. Uh, because during the review or whenever I am seeing some writings, it has a different impression. And now you are talking about this, it's like we are feeling like we have been through the same stage and we have faced the same kind of problems. And I can just give an example. I had rappos with two developers, okay, and both of them, when I'm trying to report any defects, they are excited to see and everything. But one person was like, "See, Ankita, we can understand that there is the issue, but we cannot fix that. We have the release coming up very soon, so you should leave it." This is how one person thinks, like when the actual go live time comes, we should ignore that. The other person, his approach was like, "Okay, Ankita, this release time is coming, so you keep your documentation or whatever you have. Once the release is done, then we will check upon it and we will try to reproduce. If that is reproducible again, then we will make it work." Okay, so the mindset, approach, process, everything depends, and that will have a different kind of impact. And I believe that every team should practice this kind of mindset where everyone is focusing on the product quality and they want to solve everything, or at least the most of the cases. That will help you to like deliver the quality product to your customer and everything, and you are also will be able to feel satisfied about that the product you're delivering to them, it makes sense, it's better for usability and everything. Okay? So this bug advocacy can help a lot. Okay, what I personally believe is, as a tester, yes, I can see the issue, I can report the issue, that is fine, but get it fixed by the developers is what should be the main aim to have the product be kind of 100% good for the customer or client, whoever is working on it. And continuation to Arvind's question, I would like to ask you that do you think there should be a new role introduced as bug advocate? That's my question, Rahul.
As tester, I am one of the bug advocate for my product. I see myself as an advocate for testing, as an advocate for quality, even a bug advocate. Yes.
Okay.
So it's one of the thing. I mean, as testers, we rumble into multiple things, multiple roles, and this is one of the thing. I mean, whenever I'm writing, I'm in that mode. Some bug advocate mode is always on for me.
It is one of the important characteristics.
Yeah. Yes. For a tester.
Okay.
So I think that this was really important because as soon as you join as a tester in the first month, you raise 10, 20 bugs, and you get so excited by seeing the bugs. But this session tells that how much deep a simpler topic like bug. And in interview, we see that people asking what are the fields in bug and not talking about these important things, and how a simple topic like a bug where you know that okay, something is not working as expected, you raise it and people fix it, but there is so much around it that you have written a big book which includes oracle heuristics and how we can tell the importance and the impact, which actually creates tells the importance of it. So it's really good, and it's important for everyone, like maybe who is having 1 year of experience to 15 years to know all this, and then they realize the importance of the things that we are doing, and then it tells that the testing is easy, those kind of stuff. When people will know these things, they will realize that how important such small stuffs are even. So thank you for it.
Yep. And I even wrote something after I wrote this book, that is test to sell. That at the end we are all testing to sell something, right? And for selling we need to identify what will make it sell easily. And then we have to relate what are the disempowering factors, which are definitely the bugs, to how it will affect the sale at the end, or I mean the market or reputation of customer. And then that again becomes bug advocacy. Okay, so I think that's all. Yeah.
So on this topic, for the junior testers, it is like, how do I write a bug report? How do I test? And for senior testers, it comes down to, how do I get this bug replicated? And if we don't know the things that has been discussed in this book, then it will be little more difficult to come to the critical condition that will help us replicate the bug. So this course is very good. Everyone should go through all the videos, the assignments if possible. Even today, if there is something that continues to help me, is this course. Foundations was like okay-ish. I mean, like, okay, you got introduced to the world in terms of the foundations and all of that, but bug advocacy is something that, you know, is the crux of the testing journey that I have taken through, right? So advocacy is heavily recommended, and test design is heavy, but you know, it's not everyday stuff. But bug advocacy is every day, right? So good job, Rahul.
Thank you.
And of course Khushbu as well, who was part
Yes.
of this group, and then now
Yes.
she's
Yes.
okay. If no more questions, then we'll go for a photo.
One small question, sorry, last one. What made you write? I mean, what made you to think that why should you write this book?
Okay. Two reasons. First, I did this course, and when I was doing this course, I realized how valuable is this information and how nobody in the testing community is talking about it. I mean, we rarely talk about bug advocacy. I mean, it's a rare topic. We talk about automation, we talk about testing, we talk about tools, but nobody was talking about it. Second thing was that I referred this course personally to some of my friends after I did it, and the honest impression, nothing to take away from Cem Kaner, they felt it was too fast. They were not able to catch up. They didn't knew, how to implement it. So I thought that this could be a good project for me, for a work that I could be proud of in future. And I was a practitioner of bug advocacy. I was applying it and I was getting and reaping the benefits in testathons, as I said. And I was even reaping the benefits in reports and Olympics and all. I used these skills. So I wanted to share these, and that's why I did that.
Glad that you did it. It's wonderful. Thank you.
I had a quick comment to make. Rahul, firstly, wonderful effort. I'm yet to read that book. I'll go and read the book probably tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But another perception to look at the whole bug advocacy, right? Recently in my company, the product management, what they did was they came back and said 1,500 bugs which are lying in open state for the last 2 years. We're going to close that defects. The first question that came to my mind was, why the hell are they open for the last 2 years? Why did somebody not act upon this? I mean, all these are customer defects, not defects raised within the R&D. So yeah, I mean, I'm yet to drill down and ask somebody, why are we closing this? I mean, the first thing product management said was, we're closing this 1,500 defects because nobody has acted upon this, and we want to really clean up and get to a state, restart state basically, to start fresh, right? So what I'm trying to say here is the other perception to look at is, are we raising the bar for testers in terms of testing and bug advocacy? You know, testers are already reeling under a lot of pressure, demotivated. They think testing is not a career to really take up and whatnot, right? With so much of things to learn with bug advocacy, so much of things to persuade. For example, right? I mean, we tell that as a tester, we need to work with the developer. We need to persuade so that we make developers or teams understand the importance of the defect and how that might impact the product or success, and how important is it for somebody to act upon it, right? At the same side, testers are like, why the hell I should do all the, that's not my job, right? I mean, that's a lot. I mean, imagine if you had to purchase for 10 different defects with 10 different people. I mean, it's a lot. Right. And also, having to fill so many different fields, having to do so much of, work on top of after finding the defects, that's an overhead. I mean, for people who are very lazy like me, I would never want to pursue it. I mean, I would just want to be a different, I mean, not a tester. I mean, be somebody else. So where I'm getting at is, bug advocacy definitely it's important, but at the same time, are we making things complicated, or are we raising the bar so that it's going to get a little difficult for the testers, or can we also look at how do we make the whole process of bug, including the bug advocacy, very easy, seamless, and less painful for testers?
Even in the course by Cem, they pointed out a similar situation that for some cases it becomes very tedious. I mean, why to do so much, and what if another trade-off problem will come, that what if I spend 1 more hour to find an issue which a developer can find in the next 10 minutes if he would have spent his 10 minutes. So should I put my 1 hour, or should I let them put their 10 minutes? So Cem talked about two strategies. First is 10-minute heuristic. Raise whatever you can raise in 10 minutes, put that info. And if it's too high, too risky, I mean, maybe give some buffer time. But if it's just normal, use 10-minute heuristic and ask developer for further evaluation. Even you can write, I mean, that evaluate more on these lines also, what you feel. So you can put that. And second is that they had a mechanism where like some people were extremely good at reporting, some were extremely good at finding bugs. So the people who used to find bugs, they used to give the reporters, and the reporters used to evaluate, and they used to do the investigation. So it could happen in big teams. I mean, one person just for doing all this.
And also to add to this point which Mahesh has raised, that there is overwhelming of information. So what I think is like we should have information and we might use it at certain times. For example, like maybe from this session somebody will take that, okay, Rahul uses the template and I will use, and I can save some time. So it's just a productivity hack that one might get. Other people might get, okay, what if the bug is not reproducible? So generally people think because we have less education in testing, but when we have a mind map which tells us, okay, these are the 5 things a person can try for the irreproducible bugs, so they can go in that way. So I think, yeah, information is there a lot, but we should have information so that that can be used at a certain time by certain people. Maybe people will start small, but to have the knowledge like James Bach talked, at the level of deep testing and to create that value. So I think we need all this. Maybe people will learn slowly, but there is a requirement of having all these.
Maybe Rahul, you have to take it to the next level now that you have the bug advocacy. How would you combine with any new tool that either existing or build a new one to make it very easy and seamless process? Don't stop at bug advocacy. Take it to the next level.
Yes.
Also, one small input to this, so not treating every observation with the same seriousness, that is also where the intelligence of the tester will come in. Meaning, see, I have a cosmetic defect which I think, and I'll not spend too much of time in that. Maybe it is logging or something, but where I see the potential, that time, slicing the time and conveying, sometimes calls over reporting is also good, and later add that call conversation in the report. So those kind of hacks, different hacks, they, as a Mahesh said, we can have a checklist kind of stuff where it would be more effective. Now that we know what we need, how can we make in less time or convenient time kind of stuff.
This is where the use of tools and productivity has come into.
Yep.
People think only automation is for execution, executing the test cases.
Even one point I covered, which is also advocacy, that if you can show that bug is getting to bug is very easy, or this is the error, and if it can be embarrassing. For example, error is coming, it's embarrassing. So then that's the advocacy. I mean, you don't have to give 100 things. And so if you can motivate the programmer, that's part one. But if you are still getting objections, then how to overcome them and how to do further analysis, that's part two. But if you can, I mean, if for simple cases, part one is going to solve most of your cases. So that's also a case to look at. And that's also advocacy. I mean, that's not that you are not advocating. You've just proved that this is a case. कि भाई बंदूक से कोई गोली मार रहा है तो हमें पता ही चल गया कि उसने मर्डर करा, अभी क्या एडवोकेसी उसमें.
No, it is like y is equal to mx plus c, very straight line. You have straightforward defects, and then there are derivatives, and there are partial derivatives, and then Fourier transformations like that you will have. So I classify that way, based on the efforts.
Absolutely, very important point. You are not the judge. Yep. Okay, so I think we had a very nice discussion. I think 1 hour 15 minutes. Yeah.
I don't mind being a workshop again for this.
Okay. So then I'll have to plan something.
Please do.
Ajay is in some deep thoughts.
Yes, even I was thinking that he was looking at the time or something, and
No, I was just thinking Bug Advocacy is easy. Why are we discussing so much?
that's like Oracle telling Neo.
See, the last English movie was Sholay, so I don't. Okay, we take a photo and then we can meet again on this link if we want to discuss and have fun. Mahesh, the two M's. Mahesh Mati. Okay.
Mahati, wait.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Please look at the camera. Smile. We're all good. Okay. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your day.